Lesson 1. Position and motion. Describing position. How would you describe where you are right now? You might say you're sitting 1 meter to the left of your friend. Perhaps you would explain that you are at home, which is 2 houses north of your school. You might instead say that your house is 10 blocks east of the center of the town, or even 150 million kilometers from the sun. What do all these descriptions have in common? Each description states your location, relative to a certain point. A reference point is the starting point you choose to describe the location or position of an object. The reference point is the first paragraph of your friend, your school, the center of town, and the sun. Each describes your location. It also includes your distance and direction from the reference point. Describing your location in this way defines your position. A position is an object's distance and direction from a reference point. A complete description of your position includes a distance, a direction, and a reference point. Using a reference point to describe position. Why do you need a reference point to describe your position? Suppose you're planning a family picnic. You want your cousin to arrive in the park early to save your favorite picnic table. The park is shown in figure 1. How would you describe the position of your favorite table to your cousin? First, choose a reference point that a person can easily find. In this park, the statue is a good choice. Next, describe the direction from the table. It is from the reference point towards the side. Finally, say how far the table is from the statue. About 10 meters. You would tell your cousin that the position of the table is about 10 meters from the statue. 10 meters from the statue towards the slide. Changing the reference point. The description of an object's position depends on the reference point. Suppose you choose the drinking fountain in figure 1 as the reference point instead of the statue. Now, could you say the direction of the table is towards the dead tree? Now the distance is measured from the drinking fountain to the table. You could tell your cousin that the table is about 12 meters from the drinking fountain towards the dead tree. The description of the table's position changed because the reference point is different. Its actual position did not change at all. The reference direction. When you describe an object's position, you compare its location to a reference direction. In figure 1, the reference direction for the first reference point is towards the slide. Sometimes the words positive and negative are used to describe direction. The reference direction is the point positive plus direction. The opposite direction is the negative direction. Suppose you specify east as the reference direction of figure 2. You could say the museum's entrance is 80 positive meters from the bus stop. The library's entrance is negative 40 meters from the bus stop. To a friend, you would probably just say the museum is 2 buildings east of the bus stop, and the library is the building west of the bus stop. Sometimes, however, using the words positive and negative to describe your direction is useful for explaining changes in an object's position in 2 dimensions. You are able to describe the position of the picnic table in the park in 1 dimension. Your cousin had to walk in only 1 direction to reach the table, but sometimes you need to describe an object's position using more than 1 reference direction. A house in a city might require 2 reference directions. When you describe a position using 2 directions, you are using 2 dimensions. Reference directions in 2 dimensions. To describe a position on the map, figure 3, you might choose north or east or south and west as a reference direction. Sometimes north, south, east, and west are not most useful reference directions. If you are playing checkers and want to describe the position of a certain checker, you might use right and forward as a reference direction. If you are describing the position of a certain window or skyscraper, you might choose left and up as a reference direction. Locating a position in 2 dimensions. Finding a position in 2 dimensions is similar to finding a position in 1 dimension. First, choose a reference point to locate your classmate's home on the map in figure 3. You could use your home as a reference point. Next, specify reference directions north and east. Then determine the distance along each reference direction. In the figure, your classmate's house is 1 block southeast of your home. Describing changes in position. Sometimes you need to describe how an object's position changes. You can tell that the boat in figure 4 moved because its position changed relative, or compared to the buoy. Motion is the process of changing position. Motion relative to a reference point. Is the man in a boat of figure 4 in motion? Suppose the fishing pole is the reference point because the positions of the man and the pole do not change relative to each other. The man does not move relative to the pole. Now suppose the buoy is the reference point because the man's direction from distance from the buoy changes and he is the motion relative to the buoy. Distance and displacement. Suppose a baseball player runs the base as shown in figure 5. Distance in the length of the pass the player runs as shown by the red arrows. Displacement in the difference between the initial first position and the final position of an object. It is shown in the figure by the blue arrows. Notice the distance and displacement are equal only if the motion is in one direction.